Good and evil are not always black and white. Sometimes evil does not come in the form of a villain twirling a mustache, but as a person who seems charming, kind, even helpful until you look a little closer. While we all have flaws, there are people whose actions consistently cause harm without remorse. We often think of vulnerability as a weakness, something to be hidden or avoided. We associate it with being exposed, defenseless, or at risk of being hurt. But in reality, vulnerability is one of the greatest sources of strength a person can possess. It is the ability to stand in our truth, embrace our imperfections, and allow ourselves to be fully seen. When dealing with an evil person, vulnerability can feel dangerous. They prey on the open-hearted, those willing to trust, forgive, and see the best in others. They use our willingness to be real as an opportunity to deceive, manipulate, and control. Because of this, many people who have been hurt by toxic individuals build emotional walls. They shut down, close themselves off, and become hardened, thinking that detachment is the only way to stay safe. But here's the truth. Vulnerability is not the absence of protection. It is not recklessly exposing ourselves to harm. True vulnerability is about courage. It is about knowing that even if we have been hurt before, we will not let that pain define us. It is about choosing to remain open, but with wisdom. Evil people thrive in environments where people are too afraid to speak up, where shame keeps them silent, and where fear keeps them small. But vulnerability breaks that cycle. It allows us to say, this is my truth, and I will not let fear silence me. It enables us to seek support, to name what is happening, and to protect ourselves without losing who we are in the process. Think about the moments in your life where you felt the most connected to someone. Not the moments where everything was perfect, but the moments where you were honest, raw, and real. That is the power of vulnerability. It creates real relationships, real trust, and real resilience. Evil people do not want you to be vulnerable in a way that empowers you. They want you to be vulnerable in a way that weakens you. That is why reclaiming your vulnerability is an act of defiance. Being vulnerable does not mean allowing toxic people to have access to you. It means recognizing that your openness is a gift, and only those who are worthy of it should receive it. It means knowing that setting boundaries is not an act of weakness, but an act of self-respect. It means understanding that your ability to feel deeply, to trust, and to love is not something to be ashamed of. It is something to be proud of. At its core, vulnerability is not about letting everyone in. It's about knowing yourself well enough to decide who deserves a seat at your table. And when faced with people who seek to harm, manipulate, or deceive, vulnerability is not what makes you weak. It is what allows you to see clearly, to protect yourself wisely, and to move forward without losing the most important thing of all, yourself. Trust is the foundation upon which every meaningful relationship is built. Whether in friendships, family, romantic relationships, or even professional settings, trust determines how safe, valued, and respected we feel. Without it, relationships become fragile, filled with doubt, suspicion, and instability. But while trust is essential, it is also one of the easiest things to exploit, especially by those with harmful intentions. Evil people understand the power of trust. They know that if they can gain your trust, they can manipulate you. That is why they often appear charming, kind, and even selfless at first. They present a version of themselves that seems trustworthy, but over time, their actions tell a different story. They will say one thing and do another, make promises they never intend to keep, and twist reality to serve their needs. The slow erosion of trust is not usually shattered in a single moment. Rather, it is worn down little by little, a lie here, an excuse there, a promise broken just this once. Until one day you wake up and realize you no longer feel secure. Evil people use subtle tactics to make you question yourself. They will gaslight you, making you feel like you are overreacting when you sense something is wrong. They will justify their betrayals, making you feel guilty for doubting them. They may even manipulate you into believing that your inability to trust them is your own flaw. But here's the truth. Trust is not about ignoring red flags or giving endless second chances. It is about consistency, integrity, and accountability. A person who is trustworthy does not demand your blind faith. They earn your confidence through their action. Why evil people fear genuine trust. Real trust is based on truth, and truth is something evil people cannot control. They thrive on deception, confusion, and uncertainty. If you cannot trust your own judgment, your own feelings, or your own perception of reality, then they have power over you. That is why they seek to erode your sense of trust. Not just in them, but in yourself. They want you to believe that you are too sensitive, too demanding, or too difficult. When you expect honesty, they want you to lower your standards so they can continue their harmful behavior without consequence. But real trust is not built on manipulation. It is built on mutual respect, honesty, and consistency. Rebuilding trust with yourself and others. If you have ever been betrayed by an evil person, you may struggle to trust again. You might wonder if you will ever feel safe in relationships or if trusting someone will only lead to more pain. But trust, when built correctly, is not a weakness, it is a strength. The first step in rebuilding trust is to reconnect with yourself. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, do not ignore it. If someone's words do not align with their actions, believe the actions. You do not owe your trust to anyone who has not earned it. Secondly, understand that trust is not about blind faith. It is about discernment. Not everyone deserves access to your most vulnerable self. Learning to trust wisely means setting boundaries, observing patterns, and being willing to walk away when someone shows you that they are untrustworthy. Empathy is one of the most beautiful and powerful qualities a person can possess. It is the ability to feel with others, to step into their shoes, see the world through their eyes, and offer understanding without judgment. It allows us to connect deeply, to support one another through struggles, and to foster relationships based on mutual care and respect. But where there is light, there is also darkness. Some people do not see empathy as something to cherish, but as something to exploit. They see kindness as a weakness, compassion as a tool, and vulnerability as an opportunity to manipulate. And while genuine people use empathy to uplift and heal, manipulators use it to deceive and control. This is the dangerous intersection between empathy and manipulation, the place where caring individuals are taken advantage of by those who have no real capacity for compassion. The nature of empathy, a true connection. Empathy is not just about feeling sorry for someone. It is about understanding their emotions and sharing in their experiences. True empathy is selfless. It is about being present with another person, listening without an agenda, and offering support without expecting anything in return. When someone is genuinely empathetic, their actions are consistent. They do not just express words of understanding, they follow through with kindness, patience, and reliability. They uplift others, not for personal gain, but because they genuinely care. Empathy creates trust. It makes people feel seen, heard, and valued. It is the foundation of healthy relationships, whether in friendships, families, romantic partnerships, or even professional environments. Without empathy, relationships feel cold, transactional, and disconnected. Manipulation, a distorted version of empathy. Manipulation, on the other hand, is a counterfeit version of empathy. It mimics care and understanding, but always has a hidden motive. Manipulators observe emotions, not to connect, but to control. They study your vulnerabilities, listen to your struggles, and pretend to understand, all while plotting how they can use that information to their advantage. Unlike true empathy, manipulation is always self-serving. The manipulator does not comfort you because they care. They do it because they want something in return. They do not listen to understand. They listen to find weaknesses they can later exploit. One of the most dangerous things about manipulators is that they often appear kind, attentive, and emotionally in tune. They make you feel special, valued, and safe, at least at first. But over time, their true intentions surface. They may use guilt to control you, play the victim to gain sympathy, or twist your emotions to make you feel responsible for their problems. How to tell the difference? Because manipulation can look so much like empathy on the surface, it is important to know the key differences: consistency versus conditional kindness. True empathy is consistent. A genuinely empathetic person will show kindness even when they have nothing to gain. A manipulator's kindness is conditional. They will only be nice when it benefits them, and their attitude will change the moment you no longer serve their interests. Listening to understand versus listening to control. An empathetic person listens to understand, validate, and support. A manipulator listens carefully, but not for the sake of understanding. You will notice they later use your words against you. Support versus emotional blackmail. True empathy creates a space where both people feel valued and respected. Manipulation often involves guilt tripping, playing the victim, or making you feel obligated to do things for them. Respect for boundaries versus violating boundaries. Empathetic individuals respect your space, choices, and limits. Manipulators push your boundaries, make you feel guilty for setting them, and insist that you owe them something. Why evil people fear genuine empathy? Interestingly, evil people are terrified of real empathy. While they may use manipulation to their advantage, they cannot handle true compassion. Real empathy exposes them because it demands honesty, vulnerability, and accountability, all things they actively avoid. A truly empathetic person will eventually see through manipulation. They will recognize the inconsistencies, the self-serving patterns, and the emotional exploitation. And once you see manipulation for what it is, the manipulator loses their power. Evil people also fear empathy because it unites people. When individuals support and uplift one another, manipulators lose their ability to isolate and control. This is why they often try to turn people against one another, spread false narratives, or create emotional chaos. They thrive in division and confusion. Protecting yourself, keep your empathy, but guard it wisely. If you are an empathetic person, do not let manipulators make you believe that kindness is a weakness. Your ability to care deeply is not something to be ashamed of. It is a gift, but like any gift, it must be given wisely. Be selective with your energy. Not everyone deserves access to your compassion. Some people will take and take without giving anything in return. Learn to recognize when someone is only in your life to drain you. Trust actions over words. A manipulator may say all the right things, but their actions will eventually expose them. Watch for patterns of inconsistency, dishonesty, and broken promises. Set boundaries without guilt. You can be kind and still say no. You can be compassionate and still walk away from toxic people. Empathy does not mean tolerating mistreatment. Listen to your instincts. If something feels off, trust that feeling. Manipulators are skilled at making you doubt yourself, but deep down you always know when someone's intentions are not pure. Empathy is power. In a world where many people use emotions as tools for manipulation, choosing to remain genuinely empathetic is an act of strength. It means refusing to let others' deception change who you are. It means using your compassion to uplift those who truly deserve it while protecting yourself from those who seek to exploit it. Evil people may try to use empathy against you, but they cannot take away the power of a heart that remains kind, wise, and strong. Boundaries are one of the most powerful tools we have to protect our well-being, yet so many of us struggle to set them. Why? Because we have been conditioned to believe that setting boundaries is selfish, unkind, or even unnecessary. But the truth is, boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They are fences that keep toxic influences at a safe distance while allowing healthy relationships to thrive. When dealing with an evil or manipulative person, boundaries become even more critical. These individuals thrive on control, emotional exhaustion, and blurred lines. They push limits, test your patience, and make you question whether you even have the right to say no. But here's the reality. Boundaries are not just a luxury. They are a necessary for your mental, emotional, and even physical health. What are boundaries and why do they matter? Boundaries define where you end and another person begins. They are the invisible lines that protect your energy, self-respect, and emotional stability. Boundaries communicate what you will and will not tolerate. Think of boundaries like a house with a front door. You decide who gets to enter, who stays in the yard, and who doesn't even make it past the gate. Without boundaries, you are essentially leaving your door wide open, allowing anyone, including those with harmful intentions, to come in and take what they please. Evil people dislike boundaries because boundaries limit their power over you. They thrive in environments where people feel obligated to comply, afraid to say no, or guilty for standing up for themselves. When you enforce boundaries, you take control away from them, and that is something they cannot stand. How evil people violate boundaries. Manipulative and toxic individuals do not respect boundaries. In fact, they actively seek to break them. Here are some of the ways they do it, testing small limits. First, they start with small violations, calling you late at night when you ask them not to, borrowing money and not paying it back, or making jokes at your expense. If you let these slide, they escalate. Guilt tripping you for saying no. They make you feel bad for setting a boundary. They might say things like, I thought we were closer than that. I guess I just care more than you do. Wow, you've changed. The goal is to make you feel like standing up for yourself is a betrayal. Using anger or intimidation. If guilt doesn't work, they might escalate to anger. They might lash out, accuse you of being selfish, or try to make you feel unsafe for standing your ground. This is meant to pressure you into backing down. Acting like they didn't know, some manipulators pretend that they didn't realize they crossed a boundary, even if you have explained it multiple times. They may say, oh, I didn't think you were serious, or I thought it was okay just this once, playing the victim. If all else fails, they might turn the situation around to make themselves seem like the one who is hurt. They might cry, bring up past hardships, or remind you of things they have done for you in an attempt to guilt you into dropping your boundary. How to set and enforce strong boundaries. Recognizing boundary violations is the first step, but the real power comes from setting and enforcing your boundaries effectively. Here's how you can do it. 1, get clear on your boundaries. Before you can enforce boundaries, you need to know what they are. Ask yourself, what behaviors make me feel disrespected? What drains my energy or makes me uncomfortable? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? Once you have clear answers, write them down. Clarity gives you confidence. 2, communicate firmly and clearly when setting a boundary. Be direct. Avoid over-explaining or justifying yourself. Keep it simple and strong. I will not tolerate being yelled at. If it happens, I will walk away. I am not comfortable lending money. Please don't ask again. I need you to respect my time. If you keep showing up unannounced, I won't open the door. Your boundaries do not require the other person's approval. They are for you, not for them. 3, follow through without exception. Setting a boundary is not enough. You must enforce it. If you say, I will not answer calls after 10 p.m., but you keep picking up the phone, the other person will learn that your boundary is flexible. Evil people test limits to see how much they can get away with. The more you bend, the more they push. Stand firm. If you say there will be consequences, follow through. 4, stop explaining yourself. Manipulative people love to argue and twist your words. The more you explain why you are setting a boundary, the more ammunition they have to break it. You do not owe anyone a detailed explanation. A simple no is a complete sentence. 5, distance yourself from chronic boundary violators. Some people will never respect your boundaries, no matter how many times you set them. At that point, you must make a decision. Either allow them to continue draining you or walk away. If someone repeatedly disregards your boundaries, consider limiting your contact or cutting ties completely. You deserve relationships that honor your limits, not ones that exhaust your spirit. The freedom of strong boundaries, setting boundaries is not about controlling others, it is about protecting yourself. It is an act of self-respect, self-care, and emotional well-being. When you enforce strong boundaries, you attract healthier relationships. You feel more in control of your life. You stop tolerating mistreatment. You protect your mental and emotional energy. Evil people hate boundaries because boundaries strip them of their power. They rely on your fear, guilt, and hesitation to keep controlling you. But the moment you stand firm and say, I will not allow this behavior in my life, you take that power back. So don't be afraid to set boundaries. Protect your peace, guard your energy, and remember, those who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. The ones who don't were never meant to stay in your life anyway. Every person has a story. It is made up of triumphs and failures, moments of joy and heartbreak, resilience and vulnerability. Your story is uniquely yours, shaped by your experiences, choices, and the lessons you have learned along the way. Yet, in a world that often pressures us to conform, to hide our struggles, or to be someone we are not, truly owning your story can feel like an act of defiance. But owning your story is not just about self-acceptance. It is about reclaiming your power. It is about refusing to let shame, fear, or the opinions of others dictate how you see yourself. It is about embracing both the light and the dark parts of your journey, understanding that every chapter, yes, even the painful ones, has value and meaning. When you own your story, you stop seeking validation from those who do not understand you. You let go of the need to fit into someone else's narrative. And most importantly, you begin to live authentically without apology. Why do we struggle to own our stories? Many people hesitate to fully embrace their story because of shame, fear, or self-doubt. Society often teaches us to highlight only our successes and to hide our failures, our struggles, or the parts of our past that we are not proud of. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion, and the most powerful stories are not the ones without flaws. They are the ones that show growth, strength, and transformation. Here are some of the common reasons people struggle to own their story.